Today we're going to do, using the Remoska Tria with the pressure lid, we're going to use a recipe of mine. It's very tasty and it's called chicken bean and chorizo stew with black olives. It really is very nice. Well, my wife's been baking, look at that. Anyway, here we go, here's the recipe. It'll all be below the video. There's black olives, bay leaf, which in fact is not in the recipe, but I like to add it in. Mixed herbs, Italian in that case. Cannelloni beans, fennel seeds, garlic, small amount of potato, 1 carrot, 2 onions. In there is peppers, which I'm going to put different colours in. A bit of celery there. And the secret investment is there, which is chorizo. So we'll do that, and I'll then come back to you. Oh, and of course, a small bottle of wine. And we will need some chicken stock, which I'll have to make. I'll put some olive oil in there, and I must admit I've let it get a bit too hot. But I'm going to put the chicken in there first, and I'm going to brown it. Now be careful with the chicken. If you put too much in at the beginning, it'll cool the oil down, and what will happen is your chicken, the browning, will fry. So this is in the Remoska Tria, splitting like a good one. I'll put a bit more, try and cool that oil down a bit. Now, with the chicken, my family and I'm sure a lot of people have always washed their chicken. All of a sudden it seems to be you don't wash it anymore. Right, I've just browned them off a little bit. I'll take them out now and put them on a separate plate, which I can't put in the picture there. I'll show you in a minute. I'll take it out first. Slightly brown. A bit darker, I suppose. It won't matter. Right, so that's coming out. And now I'll show you that. There's the chicken taken out, slightly brown. And now the next thing that's going in is onions. There's the onions, 2 onions, chopped, sliced. I like them sliced. One of my earlier videos I've said something's a French like them quartered and then split up. But I like them like this. Just give them a head start and then the garlic will go in. Onions. Break them up if I can. Get the oil up around it. Now you see, of course, ordinarily in a lot of these sort of dishes you put in bacon or pancetta. Not with this recipe because you've got chorizo. So I'll go in due course. If you're finding it hard to split up, don't worry, because as the outer layers heat up, they'll split away from the other ones, and eventually it will look quite nice. Now remember, I say this every time when I'm frying these things: onions, different nationalities, different foods, different length of times you fry the onions for. You know, bangers of mash, nice and dark brown, slightly burnt. Indian food, lightly brown, then you add the other whole spices till it's dark brown. Chinese food till it's stopped because you want a sweeter taste of the onions. Ordinarily, I suppose, a little bit of brown and soft. In stews, I want it just slightly brown and the garlic and everything soft and cooked. So I'm going to add the garlic in a minute. So I'll do that now while you're watching. So this is the garlic chopped in rather coarsely. That's done. Right, so that's going to take a few minutes. There's a raw smell to garlic. You certainly need for that raw smell to go. And it normally accompanies the onions getting soft, so you normally get a double whammy at the same time. I'll come back to you in a bit. The onions have got slightly brown tinge to them, they've gone soft. The raw smell of the garlic's gone off a little bit. So I'm now taking the chorizo, which I've sliced lengthwise, so across the grains like that. And the larger bits I've just cut in half. Goes very well with fish too, this recipe. Well, sorry, this chorizo. So, in go the chorizo. I find that giving it a nice red tinge now. The chorizo I use is the spicy one, sort of Spanish, not sort of like an imitation job. This one came from Sainsbury's. Right, so I'm going to continue frying that. Now I'm adding a pinch of fennel seed. That's all, very strong. I mean a pinch. That goes in there. I'm going to put carrot in this stage. You can go later, but I'm going to put carrot in now. Soften it up a little bit. I don't know if you can smell that, it's gorgeous. So they go in there too. So it's going to be stirred round. Give that a few minutes with that. I'm going to add the wine then and reduce it shortly anyway. Now adding the wine. You've got to reduce that wine as well, so there's a way of doing that. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, 18 CL, 12.5%. Right, so I'm going to now put that in there now. We've got to reduce that. Oh, it's a lovely smell of wine. So the way I do it, it's only a guesstimate, but what I do is I take my wooden spatula and I put it in, say there, and I'll try and remember where it is. It's just about there, so I need just about half of that, so I'll look at that again. So that's in there now, and I'll come back to you. One thing I should mention is I've reduced the heat, so it just simmers and reduce slowly. You're going to love this meal, I tell you. Really be out tomorrow and buying these. While that's reducing, I'll just show you. I've chopped up, I like the different colours. 3 different colours of pepper, not a huge amount, just a little bit. I've got some potato, a small amount, that's like tiny, really 1 large potato and 2 little small ones. Celery, that's not in, that's in the recipe. What's not in the recipe is leeks, which are over there. There's the leeks. And the only reason I'm putting them in is because I found them in the fridge. And of course, with a stew, you can do that. Now, this tin of should be chopped tomatoes, but I haven't got any. I didn't open the wrong one anyway, so this is peeled whole tomatoes. So I'm going to break that up inside. In there is a chicken stock cube, half a pint of that. You've got to fill it so it just covers the meat. There's a bay leaf which I'll add with the other herbs, and as I showed you earlier, there's some mixed herbs. And at the very end, there's the black olives, which I think are great. Anyway, right, well, that's now reduced a little bit. I'll put that in there. So it's about quarters gone now. So it's on the slow heat. So by the time I get everything else ready, that'll be about right. And then I need to make the chicken stock. I'm going to suggest that's probably enough now. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to put in the can of tomatoes. which should be chopped tomatoes, but I haven't got any, so I'm just putting those in there and then hopefully break them up into a smaller amount. So they should dissolve anyway, so over time. Give that a stir. What I'll do is I'll add a little bit of water in that just to use it up, but what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of water to the empty wine bottle, then add it to that, give it a shake just to get rid of the bottle. Right, so that's the can emptied. And now next goes in is my herbs, which is mixed herbs, or whatever herbs you like really. There's herbs in there. Palm lot, large heap teaspoon I suppose you can. Now throwing in celery and the spuds. They've been sitting for a while, so you need to get them in there. This time I'm going to add, it's not in the recipe, but I like a bay leaf, so I'm putting that in. Right. Let's give that a good stir around, get that going. Ideal for the trio. This, you see a nice big pot. You couldn't really needed a big casserole dish of this. Right, so there we go, that's that. Now, to make it even looking prettier, we're going to add the peppers. Look how pretty that looks, my goodness. There's a lot of juice coming out of these, remember? And, now I'm going to put the leeks in next. Leeks go in. Right, now we're going to put the chicken back in. Fingers, put them in. I'm actually going to add the juice that came out of the chicken, which is the oils and the blood and things. Will all add to the flavour. That's in there. Mix those around a bit. Don't do too much of that because I've just realised I should have put the beans in. Those are the cannelloni beans. So they go in. This is my recipe really. Well, it's a combination of other recipes that I've done, and it's primarily my idea. And as you see, even though I've got the recipe and I put it below, you'll find that, you know, like for instance, I've added the, you can add what you want to it really. I mean, I've added, what do you call it, can't remember what they're called those. Anyway, those, I added them because they were in the fridge. So that's all in there now. Now, it's a stock. Now 1 cube I've done, but you need to just cover it. You don't need to be too mad about it because the chicken and all that and the other thing will release juices. So what I may do, I'll just add a tiny bit more. I may even make up, while this is all cooking, a bit of corn flour, a tablespoon of corn flour and a bit of water to thicken the juices. I think it's still too runny. But anyway, that's all in there. Finished with. That leaves the only ingredient. Which is the black olives. I think, thinking about it, the cannelloni beans I'd probably have ended with the put in with the black olives at the end. Only because they're already cooked. Oh well, it won't make any difference. It'll still be very flavoursome and tasty. Okay, now that's done. Now let's come back to the Tria. This is the Tria. You see it's got a spring on it, on the lid. You've got to line that up. That's it. So you've got to fix it in the slot that's in the handle, the slot that's in the handle there, and that will just simmer now. And I'm going to leave it for about 4 hours, about 6 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock now, so about 6 o'clock it'll be ready. And that's it. So the next thing I'll be showing you, well, it's a bit dusty there. The next thing I'll be showing you is the finished article, really. Very delicious. And if you're on a low carb diet like what we is, it's got lots of vegetables in it, so there's no carbs in those. There's potatoes carbs, but of course there's only one potato between two of us, or two small potatoes, so it's not, our carb intake's fine. And you just got to take the three, you know, the plate idea. We got a quarter of protein, which is the meat, a quarter of the potato, which is carbohydrates and probably the beans, and then you take half the rest of the vegetables. So that's how it's done if you're doing it separately. But in the stew, of course, you mix it all in and hope that it all works. It's now been 4.5 hours, and you can see the button. I'd like it a bit lower than that. It's just bouncing up and down, but on my electric cooker I can do it at number 2, which means it doesn't rise at all, or number 3, which is where it is. Anyway, you can turn it off now, and it doesn't work like a pressure cooker. Just do that, take it off. Right. Spoon. I'll give it a stir. I must admit, it looks really, really good. I'll just take a photograph of that. And the next thing we'll do is eating with just a bit of bread. Well, there you go. I forgot to put the black olives, sliced black olives in it, which I've now added. So there you go.